Hey everyone, welcome to the Thursday evening workout review. Today we had another good dynamic tempo workout. We had low cadence tempo with high cadence FTP surges, and we extended our time and zone today to 45 minutes. Last weekend we did a longer ride with a 40-minute block, and today we just did a little bit more. And this is also after we did our 2 by 17-minute hard start tempo on Tuesday. So we're getting used to this rhythm of adding more tempo into our workouts. We're extending the number of times per week we're doing tempo, and we're extending the time and zone each time we're doing the tempo workout. So we're accumulating a lot of good time in this zone. Again, if we're doing it right, we're getting all those great adaptations from tempo specifically. And it shouldn't feel too hard. Yes, it does generate some fatigue, but I think what I'm hearing from a lot of you is it's feeling pretty good. That means you're doing it right. You're fueling, you're using your fans indoors, you're hydrating, you're varying up the cadence, and you're generally following the coaching cues, and you're handling it and tolerating it. No, more than tolerating it, you're actually, it seems like you're absorbing the work and doing very well. So I've got Sam Goldstein up here. Sam is actually one of my athletes, so thanks in advance for letting me use your file tonight. Um, Sam did the workout with us at 5:45, and we had a planned TSS of 66. She had 72, planned intensity factor of 0.78, and she did 0.81. Again, we did it in incline mode, so we're going to take a look at where she picked up the additional intensity. And we can see very quickly as we look here, she did a little bit of extra work on, not really too much, just a little bit higher than target on the surges. Not anything crazy. She looks like she had a solid workout. If you look at the, blue shading the workout ranges in the zones in the background, you can see that her power essentially is pretty spot on. So the goal for today was to just do the work. But to think about, we climbed the Alps, so we wanted to really put ourselves in climbing mindset using control. So we wanted to control with low cadence the tempo part, and we wanted to in the saddle, and we also wanted to control the surges at threshold, or just around your FTP. And we wanted to do those seated today by picking up our cadence and doing those with a higher RPM. And then we wanted to drift back down into tempo without letting the power drop too much, and really just kind of hold there and see how steady we could do this long sustained climb. So I'm going to hide the workout in the background. I think obviously, Sam had the power target spot on. So I'm going to hide that, and we can just take a closer look at it. And so I think if we're looking at control, what do I look at? So obviously I don't see any big power dips. She had one here, so it's possible. I mean, anything could have happened. She could have dropped something, or just, stood up and had a drop in power, but no big deal. I don't see anything else to show me that she was struggling. In fact, the second half of the workout, she actually looks like she got stronger. So she handled that pretty well. She didn't go too hard on the surges. That's another thing. I mean, when we're pacing tempo, especially up the Alp, like we're getting ready to do our climbing challenge, it's going to feel good. And it's tempting to go too hard too early, but chances are, especially because we're going to be doing it on tired legs, chances are you're going to end up fading in that second half. So all the progressive endurance workouts we're doing, all these workouts where we're really trying to focus you on being controlled with your effort, teaching your body to kind of hold back a little bit and be able to push harder at the end is so important and so powerful. We're going to work more on that in the next couple weeks, so that's just a taste of what's coming, but Sam is already doing that very well, you can tell. So I'm going to just look at her cadence real quick, and you can see, and this is another thing that I look at to see if somebody is doing the workout with control, because you could be fighting for that power and, just out of determination, like hit your power target, right? And it might look controlled if you're just looking at the pink line. But what your cadence is doing is really telling. And so if you see cadence really dropping or very erratic, or just kind of all over the place, then okay, this athlete is struggling a little bit to control the effort. They're grasping at cadence, they're having a hard time holding it, or they're having a hard time making the power and they're trying everything. But if I look at Sam's cadence, I see control. There's a couple of spots here where she was a little bit higher. And this second to last interval, she had, her cadence varied a little bit, but you can tell like it really only varied between 75 and 78. So that's really, I mean, it might look like a variability on here, but it's really not. I mean, I look at that and that's essentially a straight, very controlled line for cadence. And then if you look at the surges, again, she got to where, her first one was around 90 to 92, but then all of her higher cadence FTP surges were actually high cadence, and they even got faster and faster RPM. So that's the second thing I look at with control. I mean, Sam, you like totally nailed the workout. And I actually, if I looked at the last workout we did, so it was last Saturday, I think, and we did 40 minutes, and you actually averaged a little bit higher watts today. Not by a ton. So you did the workout as prescribed, but you held it for longer. And so that's another measure of progress. So we talked today about like, how do we measure progress, and how do we continue progression to make sure that we're getting stronger or building fitness. And it's not always about going harder. Right now, it's about going longer. So the focus is building that muscular endurance, which means we can hold this for longer without fatiguing. And you can tell that she is doing that. So she held a little bit higher watts than the last time she did this workout. She held it for 5 more minutes, and she did it with control. In fact, you can tell that her power started increasing in the second half of the interval. So all really good signs. The final thing I want to look at is heart rate. And we can see it climbing a little bit if you just look at it. I mean, it's pretty steady really, but you can tell it's going up a little bit. So that is not to be, I mean, it's not surprising because her power looked like it went up too, if I'm just like eyeballing it. But the one thing I do want to show you is how quickly we do see that heart rate response with the increase in cadence and power. We see the heart rate come up every time. So her heart rate is very responsive. We are increasing that oxygen demand again, remember, quickly. And so the heart rate is going to respond quickly to deliver that additional oxygen, because we, recruited those additional motor units, muscle fibers. We're using oxygen faster and creating CO2. So the demand is there. We're also expiring CO2. So we practice breathing today. But you can see like her heart rate, it does go up, but it comes down super fast. And even like as she starts going harder, even in the second half, this is kind of, again, when we started practicing gear 2 breathing, her heart rate goes up. Yeah, maybe a little bit higher. So maybe she was also practicing her breathing, I'm not sure, but it's coming down. It looks like it's coming down faster too. And it's dropping right back down to that steady state. So that's what we were saying. We really want to focus on getting your heart rate back down and controlled back to steady state after each surge. And you can see, Sam did a really, really nice job with that. Now I'm going to select the whole interval, and we're just going to look at her power to heart rate again. And so for a 45-minute interval, her power to heart rate was 1.47. I dragged it a little long. But at 1.47, so there's, what it's doing is it's looking at the second half of this workout. So 22.5 minutes, the second half, comparing it to the first 22.5 minutes. And it's looking at what her heart rate is for her power output again. And so again, if your fitness is not quite there, if she were to push this tempo interval out another 10 to 15 minutes, I don't know, like we might see her heart rate start to decouple, where maybe her power is able to stay constant. Maybe she has that under control, but now it's getting a little bit harder. Her RPE is going up. Maybe her RPE is getting to 7, 7.5, 8. but her heart rate's also climbing up, and that's reflected in her RPE going up. And so that's when we see the heart rate straying from power, where we call it decoupling. But again, I said this in the last review. Typically, if your power to heart rate is low, like she's at 1.47, I mean, that's totally fine. 3-4%, you know, that's when we start saying, okay, your heart rate is starting to climb a little faster than your power output is. So that's all good. You can go ahead and look at yours for your interval. And again, because of the nature of this lower cadence workout, heart rate shouldn't have been like out of control. So it, you know, is normal for it to increase with the FTP surges, but it's also normal for it to come right back down. So take a look at yours and see what it was doing. If I scroll down, oops, here we go. Well, Training Peaks is not playing nice. I don't see my charts. Anyway, sorry about that. Well, that's good enough for the workout then. So great job, Sam. And we will see you guys back here Tuesday again next week. Again, if you are intimidated by climbing the Alp, don't be. We are getting you ready for it. Just pay attention to the, you know, the workout previews and the workout reviews. We have a lot more climbing tips coming at you over the next couple weeks. These workouts are designed to get you ready. So if you're doing the work, you're following the advice, you're taking the climbing cues and the suggestions, you guys are going to be good. Just, you know, mentally, just put yourself there. Today was a great chance to preview the route and see what some of those pitches look like. They get steep, but we're going to work on that. And if you have a chance again to do any of the endurance workouts or meetups in free ride mode so you can actually feel the terrain, I highly suggest that. Okay, we'll see you next time. Thanks.